Hello, and today's learning target is I can rewrite an equation from point-slope form to standard form. Standard form is ax plus by equals c, and a is a positive integer. So we're going to follow going from point-slope form to a different form today, continuing with that rewriting pattern. But instead of going to slope-intercept form, we will be going to standard form. So steps to rewrite an equation from point-slope form to standard form are, let's zoom in on these, distribute the slope through. So when we see parentheses with a number in front, we'll distribute that through both terms that are inside the parentheses. We will move the x term to the y side, which is the other side, the left-hand side. Move constants all to the same side, which will typically be the right-hand side. And then we'll multiply to make a positive integer if it's not, and get rid of any fractions if we have them, because we can't have fractions, we can't have decimals, and it needs to be in simplest form in order to be the correct standard form. So let's take a look at rewriting a few equations to standard form. I'm going to zoom in here on this first one. So again, first step is to distribute the slope through. Okay, and when I do that, the left-hand side doesn't change, and the right-hand side gives me negative 5x minus 15. Now I'm going to move the x term to the y side. Again, if we look back up at our steps, we can see them right there. Move the x term to the y side. So I'm going to move that 5x over. So I'll add 5x to both sides. Now when I add it to this left-hand side, there are no like terms that I can put it with. 5x, y, and 7 are all unlike terms because they don't have the same variable. So I get 5x plus y plus 7 equals negative 15. Now again, the main goal is we are trying to get ax plus by equals c. So the x and y terms on the left-hand side, the numbers or constants on the right. So now step 3, move constants all to the same side. So let's subtract 7 and get 5x plus y equals negative 15 minus 7 is negative 22. And we look and we have no fractions, we have no decimals. And again, those are part of the rules of standard form. Can't have those. And a is positive, right? 5x is positive, and this is simplest form. Meaning I can't take anything out of the 5x, the 1y, and the negative 22. So this would be in standard form. Let's take a look at the next example. Okay, y plus 2 equals 5/3 times the quantity x plus 6. Again, we're trying to get to ax plus by equals c. Okay, so I'm going to distribute the 5/3 to both terms inside the parentheses. And when I do that, I get y plus 2 equals 5/3 x, and 5/3 times 6, 5/3 times 6 over 1, take a 3 out of those two numbers and get 1 and 2, gives me 10 over 1. So what 5/3 times 6 is 10. Now I'm going to move the 5/3 x to the other side, so I'll subtract it and get negative 5/3 x plus y plus 2 equals 10, and I'll subtract 2 and get negative 5/3 x plus y equals negative 20, or excuse me, 8, not timesing, plus 8 actually it will be. There we go. And now this is almost in standard form, but if you notice this first term here, it's negative. Can't be negative because the x term has to be positive. So what we have to do is get rid of that negative and see how it's a fraction. It's negative 5/3. Can't have fractions in standard form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this whole equation because I have to keep everything the same. If I multiply something to one side of the equation, I have to do it to the other. So the whole equation gets multiplied by, to get rid of the negative, we multiply by a negative, and to get rid of the denominator of 3, we're going to multiply by 3. So this is really like 3 over 1. So that denominator of 3 with multiplying by -3/1, those 3's will cancel out. So what I get is -3 times -5/3. The 3's cancel out, the two negatives cancel out. I'm just left with 5. So I'll put this right over here, 5x. Now -3 times a positive y, again, it goes to everything, right? I kind of distribute arrows throughout that whole equation. I get -3y equals 8 times -3 is -24. Now I have my equation written in the proper standard form. Let's try another one. All right. First step is to change colors here. Distribute my slope. So I get y plus 2 equals 7/8 x, and then 7/8 times -3/1 is -21/8. So I get -21/8. Okay, now let's move the slope to the other side. So I'll subtract -7/8 x. And I get -7/8 x plus y plus 2 equals -21/8. Now I'll subtract 2 from both sides. So I get -7/8 x plus y equals, well, let's see here, -21/8 minus 2. We get -37/8. And now this would almost be in standard form, but what rule are we breaking? Well, can't have a negative for our first term for a, our ax term, and we can't have fractions. So to get rid of that negative, I'll multiply by a negative, and then to get rid of the denominator of 8, I'll multiply by an 8. So I'll put my answer here right below, and if when I multiply by -8 times -7/8, I just get 7x. -8 times y is -8y, and -8 times -37/8, the negatives cancel out and the 8's cancel out, and I'm just left with 37. And then this would be my answer written correctly in standard form. All right, let's look at the last example. Going to distribute this -1/2 x, everything inside the parentheses. So I get y minus 3 equals -1/2 x plus 4. Now I need to move the slope, or the -1/2 x, to the other side. So I'll add 1/2 x. And I get 1/2 x plus y minus 3 equals 4. Now I want to move all the constants to the other side. So I'll add 4, or excuse me, add 3. Whoops. There we go, add 3. And I get 1/2 x plus y on the left-hand side is equal to 7. We're almost done here with our standard form, but we have a fraction. Even though our ax term is positive, we can't have fractions. So I'm going to multiply by the number, again, that's in the denominator. We had this on our last couple examples to get rid of that. And so I'm going to multiply by 2. And 2 times 1/2 x is just 1. 2 times y is just 2. And then I'll add the variable y. And then 2 times 7 is 14. And this would be my correct form of standard form, going from point slope form. Thanks for listening. Again, this was rewriting from point slope form to standard form. Have a great day. Bye.